Today we're going to be talking about the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years here with our friends at Milwaukee. We're going to be covering it from a few different angles, though. The complexities of building a mobile modern learning ecosystem, the implementation process and the rollout. How do we consider content from a strategic perspective? How do we align that strategy to tactics? And just some different nuances and things that you may want to consider as you're moving towards implementing an ecosystem that's meant to serve remote workers, people that are on the go, and of course, mobile professionals. So with that, I wanted to introduce my friend and collaborator, Britt Olson. Britt, tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Britt Olson. I am the manager of training and systems and technology at Milwaukee Tool, and I manage our internal and external LMSs, virtual classroom software, survey and analytics software used within our team, and we are also experimenting extended reality, but my main focus today is the Milwaukee training application.
You've just got a few things on your plate.
Yeah, just a few.
That's great. Well, I guess, introduce myself, I'm Chad Udell. I'm a managing partner at Float. We design and develop mobile applications for enterprise as well as government customers. I got 20 years plus of experience designing and developing learning applications, a variety of different digital communications, et cetera. I had an opportunity over the number of years to collaborate and work with the e-learning guild, now Learning Guild, as well as ATD and a variety of other associations. Published a few books on the area, and have been very fortunate over the last several years to build a strong partnering relationship with our friends at Milwaukee Tool. They're doing great work, very innovative group of people, and really tremendously open-minded in terms of technology choices, selection, vendor selection, and also all the great work that we're doing over there. It's been really, really amazing to see that partnership grow. I have to say that out of the customers that I've had an opportunity to work with, all the things that I've written about in Learning Everywhere, as well as Mastering Mobile Learning, it's fantastic to work with a customer that really sees that vision and can put that into practice for your learners. It's really good that you're serving the learners with this new technology and all this advanced ecosystem technology in your portfolio. So thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you. We love working with you guys.
Oh, that's great. I really appreciate the kind words. We've been working with you for the last couple of years, tailoring and tuning our offering SparkLearn, but it's just a piece of a much larger learning ecosystem that you all have in play over at Milwaukee Tool. When you were introducing yourself, you just named like 5 or 6 different things that you're already working on. I mean, with all of these balls in the air and the plates that you're spinning or whatever, what types of conversations and considerations go into your end in terms of deciding what pieces go into your learning ecosystem, what's going to work for you, and like how do you go about those buying decisions? It sounds like you've got a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, so our main audience for the Milwaukee training application, which we call MTA, we have developed with you guys, and it's really focused on our sales team. So we are focused on sales training. We have our sales team that's on the road quite a bit. And so we like to offer a wide variety of learning objects for them, and it's really critical for them.
So Britt, when you go about identifying and selecting all of these solutions, these enterprise products, you've chosen kind of a more small like point solution approach as opposed to a more traditional rollout of a much larger enterprise system. So when you went through this from an ideation and a concepting perspective, what were you really trying to achieve?
Our main audience for MTA is our sales team. So our sales team is quite often on the road. So having a content and this variety of learning objects available to them is really critical as they're driving. So podcasts are a huge functionality and a feature that we love to offer to our sales team as they're driving. Also, like microlearning. So giving them the opportunity to take little bits and pieces or maybe update their knowledge prior to walking into a customer's site, and just giving them those small just-in-time items to update their knowledge.
So almost like a performance support-ish kind of role, right? It's
Definitely.
ahead of time learning, but it's also just in time. So it's a little bit more flexible. And you're
Yes,
looking for kind of a flexible delivery of that same kind of content then.
exactly.
Gotcha. So as you looked towards, past the buying decision, past the concepting, from an implementation and rollout perspective, like what was the planning process that you went through internally? I mean, there's a lot of change management and all these other items in it. So like what were kind of your planning steps? How did you go about getting this ready?
Yeah, so there's many different milestones that we need to review and go through when launching a new program or even a course. So our first item is really engaging with a stakeholder to identify the strategy and implementation of that program. And then, well, understanding the needs of the audience or understanding the audience, as we have distributors and end users as our audience as well. So initially, our learning management system is internal as well as MTA. So understanding that audience needs, and then, well, working on getting our leadership and the stakeholders to support and the buy-in. It's critical. So after we solidify all of these items, which are huge milestones to go through, we then try to launch with a pilot group to really consume the content, the people that are going to be taking it eventually, understanding their feedback, and then seeing what's lacking. And once we can implement those changes, we can then launch the program.
Gotcha.
Now, the last thing is really just change management, including employee communication, announcements, and so forth. But making sure that we are pushing that and making sure that it's known.
So there's like marketing involved, right?
Definitely.
It's not just, you can't just put a product out there. You have to like notify folks. You've got to almost have your own like internal advertising or something along those lines.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So, I mean, it's a different approach, right? In some ways, you're going to be asking the learners to pull knowledge as opposed to you kind of doing that required push, right? So they have to be engaged. They have to be interested. They have to know about the tools and the opportunities that are available for them.
Exactly.
That's pretty interesting. So from a selection and from an integration perspective, like working with a vendor, like what type of support do you need from them in order to help you make those kinds of informed choices? And what did that play out like here?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing that we need and really have received from Float is a supportive and collaborative partnership. Float's position as a thought leader with expertise in mobile platforms and content strategy provides us the opportunity to brainstorm and solve ideas and collaborate with a partner invested in our success. This relationship really means that Float understands our business, which is huge, and understands the industry leadership.
What I've really enjoyed has been I think we've been able to learn together, right?
Yeah.
So the conversations that we've had, you guys have provided awesome feedback. I mean, the podcast idea, bringing that in, like you set up your own studio over there,
we
right?
did.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, our VP, he was pushing it for a while, and we just were so excited to get it. And he's like, I want to do it. So all of a sudden we have this functionality, and he's running wild, telling everybody. It's awesome.
That is pretty cool. So I think that that is a good segue into the content, right? So talking about, the platform, having the technology available, having the mechanism in order to get content out there, that's one thing, but you still have to go through like the curation and the creation process. I mean, you have a lot of product. I mean, how many products do you guys have?
We have too many to count.
I mean, and they're always new. You've always got something. It could be. I remember like you guys did a big campaign around dust collection or something along those lines, right? You've got lighting products. You've got, of course, got hardware galore like Sawzall and so many other really awesome stuff. But it's like you have to plan for this, like the content strategy and the campaign has got to be just intense. Like, do you just have like a whiteboard over there or something filled with like Post-it notes, or what's that planning process like?
Yeah, so I mean, we really try to have the communication between our product managers and really know what's coming out. So having that communication, having the relationship, and being able to just have that line of sight makes it easier for us to launch the content that's relevant and updated for our sales team so they can go out there and sell it.
Gotcha. So, and mobile professional people that are on the go, they're accessing through the phones. Are you finding like different types of content like lands better with them as opposed to like the traditional learning management audience, or what are you finding works really well?
Yeah, so a few new features we found that really resonate with our sales team has been podcasts, and then badging and certificates. Having users complete like small micro learnings that reward them get our users excited to learn more.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than just like a completion check mark in an LMS, right? Like they've got something that's on the app. It's much more like a social network kind of, approach or something, I guess, if you will. So, you've probably also kind of stubbed your toe a little bit too. Like what types of content, when you push it out to this mechanism, has kind of fallen flat, or like what's not landing?
Yeah, our business can get stuck in like the e-learning world with a video and a couple questions. We've added instructional designers to our team that are exploring like updated content design to really provide that engaging experience, as well as using these other learning objects that are available within the application.
Gotcha. So it's like almost like a different approach to blended learning, really, right? Okay, that's kind of cool. So videos, podcasts, a little bit of courseware, but not too much.
Right.
Do you guys have like a ceiling or a time, like, seat time is a big measurement, like in learning courses and e-learning and stuff like that. Do you guys have like what's too big to be put out to these learners?
We try to keep our learnings between 5 and 7 minutes at the most, just to have these micro learnings that they can learn quickly. Now, the podcast can definitely range, but most of the time their driving time is longer. So, but the micro learnings are critical so they can learn them quickly, or refresh their memory if they're running into a customer site.
So you've got a couple different modes even inside of the same system. So you've got like 5 or 7 minute, like kind of stolen moment, downtime in between, but then you've got like some windshield time too, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've got sales reps that are in North Dakota, South Dakota, and the drive time between customers are so long compared to someone who's in a larger city. So it's critical to give them something to learn while they're on the road, otherwise they're just, they're looking at their windshield, they're listening to the radio. Give them something to learn while they're driving is awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, it's a different approach. I mean, especially if you're talking like a blend of sales content too, right? It's not sales leadership or sales training content isn't always just about the product or upsell, cross-sell. Like you could be talking about sales techniques, sales tactics, success stories. Like there's a lot of different ways that you could slice it. Probably even source some content from some of those individuals at some point or another. I'm sure that they'd probably love to talk to you about it.
Definitely.
That's cool. So it's all sales focused. Are you doing some segmentation of your audiences as well? Like, is there some, or is it blended? Like it's all homogenous, like the audience is all pretty much standard?
Yeah, we allow most of our content to be seen by everyone within the company. Now, the badging and certification functionality is something that we've really focused on for different roles within our business and different pillars. So hardware, JSS, and industrial. But we have focused badges specifically on roles and that part of the business.
Gotcha. So the content is tailored to that. So it's already segmented in that you're not dealing with your manufacturing teams or something along those lines. Gotcha. Okay. So when you start to talk about that strategic view, the rollout, how do you start to then, I guess, figure, I mean, strategy at some point has to land, all right? Otherwise a plan not executed is pretty worthless, I guess. But so when the content is just about to hit, like how do you go about getting that interest or starting that communication strategy in order to get the alignment, to get the uptake? Yeah,
communication is key in our business. Getting leadership buy-in is critical, and doing some sort of campaign or contest is always enticing to our sales team.
Okay. They're
So
already competitive, right? So
yeah,
they're primed to compete. So you're doing some level, and you've got badging. So then I'm sure that's probably at some point going to factor into that whole thing too, right? It's like first,
definitely.
gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, gamify sales is already gamified in some, and it's the ultimate gamified profession in that regard, I guess. So, this also requires you then to probably go back to not just prime the message for the salespeople, but then you mentioned something about your product teams as well. So how are you engaging them in your content design process for this rollout?
Yeah, as we said before, Milwaukee launches new products constantly. So making sure we're aligned with the product team is huge. We get line of sight to new products or product lines launching as soon as we can to better align our training and our programs. So this relationship with our product managers ensures we can launch in cadence with the business. So we try to teach our sales reps prior or just in time as the product is coming out.
That's interesting. I mean, so in some ways it's like happening almost in tandem when like the marketing materials and stuff are getting generated. So that probably gets you better assets than probably having to go back in time, if you will, and look back through from a historical one. I mean, that's I think a lesson that we all need to learn from a learning and development perspective. If you can generate the content for the product training at the same time while the product design and development and rollout is going to be happening, you're going to get a lot better engagement with the product team. You're no longer an afterthought. You get part of that conversation in the upfront position so that you're, I guess, helping shape the communication strategy as well. I mean, of course, you're internal focused, but at the same time, an informed and educated customer that could become a good advocate for you also becomes a salesperson in those regards too. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned badges and certifications. When you thought about that, like when you thought about bringing that into it, was the product team driving that? Like they wanted to use it as an incentivization? Was it just management seeing that sales is going to respond really well to it? Or was it sales asking for that, like as a program, as part of the learning? Like what was the genesis of that?
Yeah, so we're really driving and aligning it with our training review committee. We have a training review committee that's basically leaderships and senior stakeholders that are within different parts of the business. So we really want to motivate the users on taking our training, get them excited about the new products coming out. And in 2020, hands-on product training ceased to exist.
Yeah. I mean, I remember going to like a hardware store or something like that, and there would be like Saturday demos for the DIYers and stuff like that, showing people how to do whatever, tear up tile or use a Sawzall for this or whatever else. That had to have been kind of tough to take for a lot of folks, because that was how how a lot of people were consuming their training content for hardware products and tools, right?
Yeah, correct. And I mean, badging and certification we saw as a concept in which we would create motivation to pull those people in and recognize the user for their proficiency and also the achievement. So not having that hands-on, we tried to find an alternative solution, not necessarily 100% solution of them having that tool in their hand, but something to get them excited for these new products that are coming out.
So that's I think kind of brings me to the next thing that I wanted to talk to you was about the media selection and choice. So if you were previously, a lot of people were learning by doing or seeing the demonstration or whatever, obviously that probably lends itself to some good use of video, right? So have you had much use of video in your microlearning, or is that where does that factor into your strategy?
Yeah, at this moment in time, video is extremely important to our content plans. Learning about our products, how to use them, the features and benefits and the value of our product is something we really try to show it in action. So we have found that if you don't have the tool in front of you, video is still a solution.
Some other things that might be worth experimenting right now with would be like this concept. Obviously, adaptive learning, accelerated learning is really, really hot. What's Milwaukee looking at right now in terms of like content recommendations and adaptive learning? Like when you think about that, is it worth your time investigating? Is it buzzword? Is it like something that you're trying, or what's the next step with that for you?
Yeah, so Milwaukee is always trying to find ways to make things better and easier for our users. Being able to recommend content for a specific user role will make the learning path clear for those users within that job or role. So recommendation engines is definitely something we've been looking into.
So it's cool. I'm glad that you're taking a very learner-centric look. When you guys talk about things, you very much been very learner-centric for the entirety of the time that I've been speaking with you. I think the one thing that's interesting is while adaptive or recommendation engine is super learner-centric, it sometimes can leave like a little bit of a cold feeling for the instructional designer, right? Like, I mean, the instructional designer essentially is creating a lot of content, and with an adaptive engine or with a learning recommendation system behind it, you may be generating a lot of content that nobody actually even sees, and sometimes that's a good thing. So like, what kind of mindset is that causing a shift in terms of internal content creation and generation? Are you guys feeling good about it? Does it make you feel kind of like, oh shoot, what's going on? Like some of my content's not even going to get looked at, or what's the sentiment there on that?
No, having these new and exciting features can really get our instructional designer teams to design content and lead someone in a path to success. So we no longer have to cater to a one-size-fits-all mentality. We're able to address and guide our learners through these paths that are targeted specifically for them.
Yeah, I mean, you could be delivering less training, like a measure of your success. Maybe a KPI, like in quarters to come, would be like seat time actually went down, right? Like sales effectiveness stayed where it was or went up. Seat time went down. Satisfaction with the learning went up, and everybody, like, you have like a little badge or something on your desk and be like, I designed 32 learning modules that never got seen. You know, like maybe that's actually something that we could be proud of. Our content gets used less. That's kind of crazy. I mean, you have to design for flexibility then too, right? Because you're talking about like multiple paths or ways that people could get to the same content from outside a different area completely, right? Like, or people, you're helping people maybe even see other product lines that they might not have learned about or been aware of or know how to sell or something along those lines. So that flexibility is really a cool thing to have to design for too, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're designing our content and using different types of learning objects to offer users new ways of training and learning. Yeah, correct. So offering these different types will really give them that flexibility in learning in different ways.
That's cool. Well, I am so thankful again to get an opportunity to speak with you. Like I always do. I enjoy having the conversations with you. I'm so happy to hear about the success and that you're having with podcasts and the social and informal learning that's coming down the pike and everything like that. It's really, really cool. It's so exciting. I think it's really cool that you continue to push the envelope, that you're doing some amazing things. And it's especially heartening for me. Okay, I'm a Midwestern guy. I'm originally from Wisconsin. Y'all are in Wisconsin. I live in Illinois now, but it's cool to see heartland innovation. I mean, I'm just going to throw up the plug for it, because a lot of stuff you see East Coast, West Coast, Silicon Valley, obviously huge centers of innovation, but you guys are doing some really cool stuff right here in the Midwest, and I'm happy to be part of it. So thank you very much for your time today, Britt. I really have enjoyed having a conversation with you.
Thanks, Chad. You too.